Coffee Talk Episode 2 Hibiscus and Butterfly is a sequel to Coffee Talk, a more or less visual novel game with drink brewing mechanics to complement the story. Released 20th April 2023, this game from Toge Productions invites you to have a warm cup as you settle in to learn the lives of some fantastical people with incredibly down-to-earth worries. This will be the casual, spoiler-free review. There's not much, if anything, to the options menu. You start by making a new save in one of 3 slots, naming a barista, and you can dive right in. There's sliders for sound effects, background music and ambience volumes, resolution, full screen off or on with no window full screen, text language options in English, Japanese, traditional or simplified Chinese, Korean, German, French, and Spanish. Text speed comes in default crawl or instant, auto-scrolling dialogue on or off, and skipping read or all dialogue. Much like its predecessor, Coffee Talk Episode 2 has its pixelated art style paired with its lo-fi soundtrack. It very much is a cozy little game, of course no less gorgeous in its simplicity. There is no voice acting, so the game relies on its sound direction and expressive sprites, and some playing on timing of text to set the mood. In a way, I feel this allows the player to be more immersed in the text, which is what I'd say is the reason people get this game for, but I'll elaborate on that just a little bit later. The most complicated gameplay gets will be to figure out which combination of ingredients, and in which order, you need to serve the right drink, and maybe sometimes hand over an item in your care. While there's no hard fail state on serving the incorrect beverage, it does affect the stories you might encounter. Depending on how you see it, that in itself could be a fail state. Outside of that, there's the endless mode where you can either experiment with making drinks, or get challenged to serve as many correct ones as possible within the given time limit. There's latte art as a side activity, but it's just that, more of a side thing than mandatory. Otherwise, sit back and read how the power of your drinks can connect, or perhaps disrupt, the paths of the people who come to you seeking advice, companionship, or maybe some solace on a lonely rainy night. The story is the heart of Coffee Talk Episode 2. In this Seattle populated by anything from regular humans to succubi, elves, vampires, werewolves, nekomimi and more, their lives seem almost hilariously mundane in comparison. We do have the cast returning from the first game, alongside the debuts of Lucas, a satyr, and Riona, a banshee. I'd say it's a given that first appearances aren't always what they seem, and you'll get the opportunity to know just how much it applies depending on the drinks you serve. I did enjoy their interactions, even as I deal myself unnecessary psychic damage due to my own personal circumstances, as I mull over their stories. Sometimes, we just take things for granted, like common sense, but we hardly stop to think about it until a heartfelt piece of fiction reminds you that yes, these are completely relatable feelings and worries. The question becomes, what will you do with the knowledge? Throughout the game, you get to see little updates from your friends' Tomodachi profiles and stories, and the daily piece from the newspaper's new short fiction column. There's much to read, so do! For those of you who've played the first game, Coffee Talk Episode 2 Hibiscus and Butterfly is more of the same. For those unfamiliar with the now duology, let me ask you these. Do you love human stories? Do you want your stories to be served with a side of lo-fi music and delicious drinks? If yes, then get this game. In all the world's hustle and bustle, being able to stop for a while and be listened to is such a luxury. Just for a little bit, you can get it here. I give Coffee Talk Episode 2 Hibiscus and Butterfly a highly recommended.